Good to see everyone. Can you guys on Zoom hear me right now? I'm sure that you can.
Yes.
Hey, Rachel, can you hear me right now?
Yes, sir.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm
Okay.
in hospital.
Um, all right. So it's good to see everyone. And today, like from here on out to the end of the semester, uh, we are going to focus on Nietzsche. Okay, I'm going to pin me so that I can tell when I walk off the screen. From here on out, we're going to do Nietzsche, okay? Um, like I said last time, but y'all, when I was running out to my car, I just realized something kind of cool, and um, that because we're meeting in class, yay me. By the way, are you still glad, D'Anthony? Thanks for your email. Are you still glad that we're meeting in person? I am. Some things about it kind of stink booty. But to me, it's better than not meeting. So yeah. But what I realized as I was running out to my car just now is that because we are meeting in person, guess what? We can have our final exam review. Yeah, we can have our final exam review. And so what I'm going to do, and you're going to love this. I'm going to give you the questions. The syllabus says that the final exam has 10 multiple choice questions, and that is correct. And I'm going to give you the questions. I'm going to print them out. I'm going to make 40, 45 copies on like real paper. I'm going to pass them out to you in class. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break you up into groups. Did I say 10? Okay, you know what? I'm not sure how many questions are going to be on it. Does the syllabus say 10 multiple choice questions? The reason I did it that way is because last semester we were not able to meet together, and so I wasn't able to do my final exam review. Let me put it like this. I'm going to leave it vague, and I'm going to tell you that on the last day of class, I'm going to hand out a piece of paper that is going to be the actual exam. I'm going to hand it out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break y'all up into 3 groups. One, or I don't know where you're going to be, but 3 groups, like, hey, you guys go over here, and then another group here and another group over there. And I'm going to say this group gets to discuss these questions like 1, 4, and 7. You guys are going to discuss 2, 5, and 8, and you guys are going to discuss 3, 6, and 9. Okay? Talk amongst yourselves for 15 minutes. And then after that 15 minutes, what we're going to do is I'm going to say, okay, you guys, talk to me about number 1. And someone's going to raise your hand and you're going to give me the answer to number 1. You're going to talk it through. And then I'm going to be like, do you guys agree with that? Like, is there anything wrong with her answer? How could she improve it? You know what I mean? So we're going to go through the whole exam like that. I am not going to give you the answers. Am I going to give you the questions? Yes, I am. That's crazy. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the actual paper copy of the exam, and we are going to discuss it. I'm not going to give you the answers. You're going to come up with the answers on your own. Okay? It's very Socratic of me, like Socrates. Now, what about if you're not in class? Well, so first off, I would say get to class. You know what? Here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say. I don't think I'm going to post it online. I don't think I'm going to put the final exam on Canvas. I think what I want to say is you got to get your ass to class. Unless you have a good reason not to. And I get to decide if it's a good reason or not. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'll put up an announcement about all this. But I just realized going out to my car and coming back that we could have a final exam review like I used to do in pre-COVID days. Okay, does that make sense? Plan on coming to class. If you can't come to class, send me an email telling me why not, and I'll decide if it's a legitimate reason. and give you the exam on that basis or not. The other thing is, okay, so the class will be recorded. The final exam review will be recorded via Zoom and uploaded to my YouTube channel. All of that is true. However, remember, I'm not going to be giving you the answers. You guys are going to come up with the answers on your own, and I'm going to facilitate a discussion. What that means is that you might not be able to watch the YouTube video and actually get the answers. Are you with me? So bottom line, come to class if you can. If you can't, I will get the exam to you. All right? Any questions about that? We're going to do that on the last day of class. I just realized that we could do that. So our semester's coming to a close. We've got one more thinker that we're looking at, Nietzsche. What we're going to do today is we're going to watch a documentary about Nietzsche. That'll probably go next time and maybe the time after that. And then the only thing we have left is to read and discuss his essay, The Dionysiac Worldview, which is on Canvas. We might not be able to discuss that essay as thoroughly as I would like. That's okay. And then we'll do the final exam review, okay? So does anyone have any questions about that? Am I making sense? Good. Okay, so we're going to watch the video today, and you guys on Zoom, you need to listen to what I'm about to say, because again, like I said last class, I'm worried that if I just like record the YouTube video on my Zoom thing and then upload that to my YouTube channel, YouTube will flag me for copyright violations. And so I came up with a good plan today with the help of some of my brilliant medieval and Renaissance philosophy students, although I even improved on what they said. Here's what we're going to do. Instead of pausing the video randomly and talking about it, instead of doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to watch the first 15 minutes. Then I'm going to pause, and I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. So people at home, I hope that you understand. We're going to watch this documentary in 15-minute increments. So whenever I pause, wait. You know what? Really, I need to be talking to my YouTube viewers. Wow. I need to be talking to my YouTube viewers. If you, dear student, are watching this video on YouTube, then whenever I pause the recording, you need to watch 15 minutes of the documentary. And then do that again next time. Yeah? Okay, good. Those of you with me on Zoom right now, you can just hang with us, right, Jacob? Okay, cool. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to watch it in 15-minute increments, and I'm not going to hit the pause button spontaneously and talk. No. Instead, I'm going to talk about it every 15 minutes. Okay. Yeah, so now we're going to watch a YouTube video. Oh, man. Exit full screen. Okay. Did we start the YouTube video last time on Nietzsche? I don't think we did. I may have like played 5 seconds, but not more than that. Okay. It's a really good video. I like it a lot. We're gonna go in 15-minute increments, okay? So yeah, if y'all could help me with that 15-minute thing, that would be pretty awesome. I could use my iPhone as well.
Is there any way to adjust the camera so that those of us that are on Zoom today can see the screen?
Well, I'm going to share my screen, right, Jacob?
Oh.
Because yeah, and I'm going to just hit pause record. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen, Rachel, so it's all good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have a headache. All right. Can you see my screen, Rachel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Pause recording, because I'm about to hit play. Boom. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I invite you now to watch the first 15 minutes of this video, the link to which is in the comments below. Yeah? Cool. I just remembered something that I needed to talk about before we watched our video. Do y'all remember how last class we, okay, someone raise your hand. Tell me who the two big main paradigm pre-Socratic thinkers are that we talked about in this class. Yes, Sarah. Heraclitus and Parmenides, that's right. And so do you remember how, like, here's Heraclitus, H, here's Parmenides, P. And so what I wanted to do last class, or what we did do, is I wanted to take the last two thinkers that we're looking at, the two modern thinkers, you might say, Descartes and Nietzsche, right? And I wanted to ask, who does Descartes go with, Heraclitus or Parmenides? And who does Nietzsche go with, Heraclitus or Parmenides? And who did we say Descartes goes with? Someone raise your hand and tell me why. Yes, ma'am. Ashlyn. Ashley. Yeah, thank you. That might be one way of saying it. Now, if you think about Aristotle's metaphysical spectrum, over here, we didn't have body, we had what? Matter. And over here, we didn't have mind, we had what? Form. But you are not wrong to associate mind with form and body with matter. In fact, that's actually what Aristotle says about the human being, the rational animal, namely that the matter of the human person is body, and the form of the human person is what? No. Good guess, though. You're almost right. Who can help? Soul. Right. Remember, Descartes' a reductionist. He's like, I'm not going to talk about the whole soul with all of its various parts. I'm going to reduce it down to one single element, namely the mind. Right. Remember, for Aristotle, every item in the world, everything in the world, every object in the world is a composite unity. This will be on the final exam. A composite unity of form and matter. Those are the two ends of the metaphysical spectrum, form and matter. Everything in the world is kind of like a microcosm of the world itself. Is this marker a composite unity of form and matter? Yes or no? Yeah. Is my hand a composite unity of form and matter? Yes or no? Yes. That's right. So, that's right. Parmenides is a form guy because he says that being is not this, not this, not this, not this. In other words, don't talk to me about matter, Parmenides says. Instead, reality or being is something, it's almost like a mental construct, okay? We're going to just say that that's form. Now, Nietzsche, does Nietzsche go along with Parmenides as well? Yes or no? No. Can someone tell me about that? Who can help me with that? Say something about Nietzsche. Someone tell me how and why we associate Nietzsche not with Parmenides, but rather with Heraclitus. Who can tell me something about that? Yes, Sarah. Yes, but how? I love that wording, but how? He thinks reality is a blooming, buzzing confusion. That's right. And that does have a lot to do with matter. Because if you think about the way that Aristotle talks about prime matter, which is kind of like concentrated matter or matter on steroids, right? Or matter that is utterly devoid of form. If something's utterly devoid of form, it's just a blob. It's just a big mess, right? It's a blooming, buzzing confusion. This is how the Hebrew thinkers of the Old Testament think about the sea. And I haven't talked about this in the class, and I shouldn't talk about it much now, but I'm just going to say that in their imagination, the sea or the ocean is connected to the formless void of Genesis 1:2. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void. It was, the Hebrew is tohu vabohu. If that sounds like a little rhyme, it is. Tohu vabohu. It means a big mess, chaos. And if you were to read the Old Testament very closely and pay attention to how it talks about the sea and the ocean and the Red Sea that the Jewish people walk through when God liberates them from Egypt, you can see, oh yeah, they're thinking about that kind of like as if it's that chaotic, formless, and void of Genesis 1-2, and you would not be wrong. The point right now is, if something is utterly devoid of form, it's just like a big mess or a blob, or like the static on the 1970s television set before cable, right? Just the flickers everywhere. When you look at the flickers everywhere, can you point to a triangle? No. Can you point to a beautiful male body? No. You can't point to anything because there's no form, there's no shape. And so when Aristotle talks about prime matter, he says that you can't say anything about it. You can't say that it's beautiful. You can't say that it's symmetrical. You can't say that it's 6 feet tall. You can't say that it's a rectangle. You cannot say anything about it. You can't even point to it. By the way, if you were to point to it, that would require the presence of a what? A finger, right? Does a finger have form? Uh-huh. There is no form. Prime matter, it's a blooming, buzzing confusion. You can't even point to it. Aristotle says, by the way, you can't even see it because do you need eyeballs in order to be able to see? Yes. Do eyeballs have form? Yes. But there is no form. You can't even see it. There is no you. The only thing Aristotle says about it is that it's spatially extended. It's utterly devoid of form. It's a big mess. And you can remember how the 4 elements are almost prime matter. It's kind of like they barely have some form. Earth, dirt, has a little bit of form. Air, a little bit of form. Fire, a little bit of form. Water, a little bit of form. Not much, just a little bit, so that you can identify it as water or fire or whatever. And that's why I drew a shit emoji right over here, because it's utterly devoid of form. See, matter is utterly devoid of form. And Nietzsche, we might get to this when we discuss the article, The Dionysiac Worldview. Nietzsche doesn't believe in form. Crazy, huh? He doesn't think that form is real. Kind of like a postmodern gender theorist who says that male and female is just a social construct. That's my stock example because it's very much a direct descendant from Nietzsche. Am I throwing it under the bus? No. Am I exalting it as something I believe in? No. But it's connected to Nietzsche, see. And what the postmodern gender theorists who say that gender is just a social construct are saying is that they're not real. Male and female is not real. Nietzsche actually in one of his articles says that if someone could go outside and bring me a leaf, he literally says, I used to make my students read this article, but then I shifted to the Dionysiac worldview. He literally says, go outside and bring me 2 leaves, leaf A and leaf B. You can look at them both, but you can't say that they're both leaves. You can just say that there's a thing right here and there's a thing right here. But that genus of leaf is a social construct for Nietzsche, which means that Linnaean hierarchy of genus and species that we talked about earlier in the semester, are you with me? Species, genus, blah, 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 kingdom, phylum, whatever. Are you with me? That's BS, Nietzsche says. Remember last class, he says, science is BS. Science is just a what? Come on, we talked about it. It's a power play. It's a tool or an invention for the strong to manipulate the weak. So that ought to sound familiar to you guys because you guys are like 18 and 19 and 20. And a lot of people talk this way nowadays. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm actually saying it's part good and part bad. But who cares what I think? I want you to know what Nietzsche thinks. I want you to know what Nietzsche thinks and how Nietzsche has influenced the world you live in. Has Aristotle influenced the world you live in? Yes, but it's not as clear because Nietzsche is way, way, way more recent, and current thinkers that do affect, like that current thinkers that affect the ideology of our world are drinking directly from Nietzsche. They're not drinking directly from Aristotle. They're drinking directly from Nietzsche. And the postmodern gender theory is a good example. Nietzsche literally says there's no such thing as gender, there's no such thing as species, there's no such thing as form. I hope you can see how gender is like form. It's an intelligent, it's a concept. You can't point to it. It's a concept. It's not matter. And so Nietzsche says that that stuff doesn't actually exist. The only thing that exists is matter. And if he were consistent, maybe he would just put a period right there and shut up. And oh, he did go insane, as we're going to see, and as you've already sort of glimpsed. But he doesn't just put a period there because it's really hard to be consistent if you think that the only thing that's real is matter. And so he sneaks this other thing in called the will to power. And we'll get to that when we look at the Dionysiac worldview. But he doesn't believe in form. And so we're going to put an X right here under Heraclitus. Yes, ma'am, Sarah. Then we'll hit play. So let's pause real quick. I want to repeat your question so that the people on YouTube/Zoom can hear. So yeah, isn't it interesting? Just at a very basic level, isn't it interesting that Parmenides talks about God? Oh wait, he doesn't say God; he says being. But we'll gloss over that for right now. Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas think that he really means God, and oh, by the way, they also think that God is being. Aristotle thinks that, Thomas Aquinas thinks that. So isn't it interesting that Parmenides, just at a very basic level, starts talking about being/God, and Nietzsche comes along and says God is dead. That right there is a clue that we would not associate Nietzsche with Parmenides, that instead we would associate Nietzsche with Heraclitus and put an X here. That's a good point. I agree. Now, the only other thing I want to say, Sarah, is that remember what we said last class, namely, when Nietzsche says God is dead, and oh, by the way, it's not Nietzsche who says it, it's a character in a story he writes, and that's an important distinction. If I write a story and one of my characters kills his wife, does that necessarily mean that I think that people should kill their wives? No, not necessarily. So that's an important distinction to make. But yeah, Nietzsche, oh man. So yeah, Nietzsche says God is dead. But remember what we said last class. He means the concept of God. Forget about the fact that Orthodox Christianity says that we can't have a concept of God, right? We can't expect Nietzsche to, very few people actually get that. Most people assume that Christians think they have a concept of God. And so Nietzsche's not saying that some metaphysical entity called God once was alive and now he died. Although it's interesting that that is kind of what the Good Friday service says, if there's any Catholics in the room. On Good Friday, we grapple with the fact that on the cross of Jesus Christ, God died. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of crazy. that there's a potential link up with what Nietzsche says and what Orthodox Christianity says. But nevertheless, he means the concept of God. He means once upon a time in Europe, in the 10th century, the 12th century, the 16th century, the Protestant Reformation, on and on and on, people believed in God. But now in his day, in the 19th century, after Descartes, remember how we talked about how Descartes was a radical skeptic? He wants to doubt everything, and he pumped that into the culture so that after him, it's like, we don't believe anything. We're going to be skeptical of everything. You want me to believe in something? You got to prove it to me. I got to be certain of it. Clear and distinct ideas, baby. That's Descartes. And so after Descartes, and this includes the world we live in, we tend to be skeptics, default skeptics. And Nietzsche picks up on that and says, yeah, people used to believe in God, but nowadays they really don't. Now, he basically means educated people like university faculty members or cultural leaders. He's not really talking about the simple folks, you know what I mean? Like, even today, the simple folks tend to still believe in God. God bless them. He's not talking about them. He's talking about the cultural elites. But I just want to remind you that when he says that God is dead, or when one of his characters in a book says that God is dead, the meaning there is really the idea of God, the cultural acceptance of the notion of God. That's what used to exist, but in his opinion exists no longer. Maybe he didn't realize the fact that in Africa, the Christian faith is exploding. Maybe he didn't realize when he said that God is dead, when he said that nowadays people don't believe in God, maybe he was being a Eurocentric racist because he was only focusing on white people in Europe and North America and forgot about Africa, China, South America, places where the Christian faith is exploding. So the Christian faith, maybe God is dead in like Canada and New York and California and Europe, but it's not, believe me, it's not dead in Uganda. People in Uganda still believe in God. In fact, they believe in God way more than they used to. So that would be a critique of Nietzsche. But I like Nietzsche. I think he's interesting and smart and passionate. Yeah, God is dead. Okay, y'all. I might not even hit play again. We've gotten through the first 15 minutes, so my YouTube viewers, keep that in mind. We've gotten to the 15-minute mark. I wanted to say some things about the first 15 minutes. First off, did you hear the word nihilism? Did you hear the word nihilism? What does the word nihilism mean? Yes, Sarah. Okay, what does the word nihilism mean? Yes, Ashley. So what I find interesting about both of your answers is that both of your answers contained a verb. Nothing. The word nihilism means nothing. Are you with me? Yeah, I'm a philosopher. I have to be like nitpicky like this. You know what I mean? Nothing. And so, yeah, I hope that you noticed that word. One of the people that was being interviewed described Nietzsche as a proponent of nihilism. I would agree with that. It's interesting that in the last class, the medieval class that I just taught, St. John of the Cross, one of the disciples of Thomas Aquinas, famously said that God is nihil. I guess he spoke German, so he must have said Gott ist nihil. God is nothing. So again, another link up between what Nietzsche thinks and what Orthodox Christianity thinks. Kind of crazy. Nietzsche didn't realize that he agreed with Orthodox Christianity a whole lot, but he did. Crazy. Okay, so I hope you noticed the word nihilism in the video. We've talked about that in the class. This will be on the final exam. Fill in the blank. Nietzsche's father was a, and I want you to be as specific as possible. I want specificity here. Ashley, you want to guess? You want to go? Oh, good, but I need you to be more specific than that. Because now you sound like Father Matt. No. I mean, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Can someone, who else wants to guess? Was he a Baptist pastor? Who can raise your hand? What was he? Was Nietzsche's dad a Catholic? Yes or no? Raise your hand if you think yes. Oh, you weren't listening. That's okay. I still like you. But you might do bad on the final. Raise your hand if, do you think Nietzsche's dad was a Catholic? Do you think that Nietzsche's dad was a Protestant? He was a Protestant. Germany, did you hear the German in the video? Nietzsche was not from Texas. He was from Germany. And Germany is kind of evenly split. Even this is true today, and this was true in Nietzsche's time, kind of evenly split between Catholics and Protestants. Slightly more Protestants. Who can name the first Protestant reformer? Can anyone guess? Martin Luther. Who said that? Exactly. Tell me your name again. What? Elise. And I like your shirt. Yeah. I don't know if it's actually UT, but hook 'em horns. Martin Luther. Now, was Martin Luther from Texas? He was from Germany. And so Germany was, I would say, 60% Protestant / Lutheran. Now, is Lutheranism the only kind of Protestantism? Yes or no? Can someone name another kind? What? Baptist, yeah. Methodist, Presbyterian, Calvinist. I'm an Anglican / Episcopalian. The thing about us, though, is that we're bilingual. We speak Protestant and Catholic. So, like, am I Catholic? I don't know. Sometimes we're kind of confused. We're kind of like Catholics and Protestants at the same time. Anyway, Luther's dad was a Protestant minister, but more specifically, he was a Lutheran minister. Not a Methodist pastor, but a Lutheran minister. I want you to remember that. Okay, so Nietzsche's father was a Lutheran minister. And I probably will not give you this answer again before the final exam. So boom, there you have it. One of the speakers talked about how Nietzsche wanted to be the new moralist in a post-God society. I wish I had more time to talk about that. I think it's fascinating. And then one of the other speakers talked about a void where certainties once existed. Interesting, void. Void. That's kind of like chaos, right? Genesis 1:2. The King James Bible says, here's how the King James Bible, which is kind of like the definitive version of the Bible in English, here's how the King James Bible translates Genesis 1:2. And the earth was formless and void. Interesting. Interesting. Nietzsche thinks that there is a void where certainties once existed. Certainties that, in his mind, are probably connected to God. The only thing I'll say before I hit play again, because I do want to watch 15 more minutes, is that Nietzsche probably didn't understand that actually if you read St. Augustine and how he talks about God, St. Augustine is not certain of God. Okay? The person who came along and demanded certainty was whom? Descartes. Not the church fathers, not St. Paul, not Thomas Aquinas, not St. Augustine. It was only when Descartes comes along and says, damn it, if I can't be certain of something, I'm going to doubt it. No one else thought that way before Descartes. Christians didn't think that way. St. Augustine did not say, if you can't prove something to me, I refuse to believe anything at all. No, no, no. St. Augustine didn't say that. Plato didn't say that. Aristotle didn't say that. None of the church fathers said that. So shame on Nietzsche for thinking that Christians demand certainty. No, they don't. I mean, Descartes did, but sorry, St. Augustine doesn't drink Descartes' Kool-Aid, and neither did St. Paul. This is why I approach my philosophy class not like someone said over here a few classes ago. Well, in the other class, they do these ethical case studies. No, no, no. Well, I don't do that. Here's why. If we're going to talk about ethical case studies, like there's a train going down the tracks, and then there's a fork in the train track, and if you go this way, you can kill 5 people, and that's the, or if you go this way, you can kill 1 person. What are you going to do? No, 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 I don't do that. I'll tell you why, because that sort of thing doesn't challenge your assumptions. It really doesn't. What I try to do is try to get you to identify your assumptions. What are the things that you think are just natural? Identify them so that you can then question them. But in order to do that, you have to see that ideas have a history. Ideas have a history. They come from somewhere. And this demand for certainty that Nietzsche thought was Christian isn't Christian, it's Cartesian. What does Cartesian mean? It means it comes from Descartes. Okay, it's Cartesian. I'll write that word on the board, then we will watch the video for 15 more minutes. Cartesian. That means like coming from Descartes. Okay? All right, y'all, we're gonna watch till the 30-minute mark, and then I'm gonna let you go. Sorry, we're gonna go 10 minutes over. Yeah, 10 minutes over today, okay? Hang with me. Are you guys on Zoom okay right now?
Yes, sir.
Yay. Okay, I'm gonna. Hey, y'all who are watching on YouTube, I just paused the video at the 30-second mark. By the way, you can find the link below in the show notes. But those of you who are here right now, just 2 things that we're gonna pick up with on Wednesday, okay? Number 1, I wanna talk about Schopenhauer, which is where Nietzsche gets this idea of the will to power, the thing that he thinks is really real. The only thing that's really real other than the blooming, buzzing confusion, the chaos, is the will to power. He gets that notion of the will to power from Schopenhauer. And then the second thing I want to talk about on Wednesday is art, and how Nietzsche thinks that it is art that can provide salvation for the human condition, the human predicament that we are in. He thinks it's an art, especially music. And I want to talk about this phrase, the metaphysical therapy. Therapy? Why do we need therapy? The metaphysical therapy of art, and how that's closely connected to this notion of mythos. The opposite of mythos is what? Logos. Very good. And I want to talk a little bit about Wagner. This word right here is Wagner. If you've ever taken piano lessons, you probably know the name Wagner, and Wagner's connection with mythos and art and music, okay? May the force be with you. I'll see you on Wednesday.